When I was 45 years old, my body turned yellow, and no one could tell me why. I went from clinic to hospital to specialist, searching for answers that never came. And then I was told something I will never forget. I was told to prepare for death. That moment changed everything, not just how I saw my health, but how I would take care of myself for the rest of my life. My name is Tiffany Anderson, and I'm a health educator who became the patient. And during that time, that health crisis, when I didn't know if I was going to survive, I started doing something that would eventually change the course of my life. I started paying better attention. I started asking really good questions. And I started writing everything down, documenting everything, what helped, what didn't help, and what I needed to do just to get through each day. Because when the answers aren't clear, when life gets really murky, you learn how to advocate for yourself in a very different way. And what followed was one of the most difficult seasons in my life. But it also taught me some of the most important lessons about healing, advocacy, and what it really means to take care of your health. See, this health crisis appeared without warning. No prior illness. There was no injury, and presented only as the symptom of jaundice. And with every medical procedure or test that I went through, I continued to be told unknown etiology. Basically, that the healthcare providers didn't know what was happening to me. During those early days, I scrambled to find answers while continuing to go to work as my health progressively worsened. Jaundice then turned to liver failure, which then caused heart failure, and my left leg began to swell. This took place in a matter of weeks. My body was shutting down. I rewrote my will and decided to travel with my grown son during what I believed were my final days. Because you see, at that time, I was working part-time as an adjunct faculty member. I was part-time staff working for a community college. I had my own business, and I was taking that precarious path, hoping that my employer would put me on full-time status in order to have health insurance. It was back in the early 2000s. I had pre-existing health conditions, and so finding affordable health insurance wasn't available to me. I worked for a college that had a health clinic. I had a homeopath and other healthcare providers that I was just paying out of pocket. And then I became seriously ill. Quickly finding that I was starting to max out credit cards, paying for very expensive medical tests and procedures that continued to find no answers and no white light in sight telling me what in the hell was going wrong with me. I turned away from Western medicine at that point and followed my homeopath and other healthcare providers and recommendations from family that led me to simply managing the symptoms, since no one could figure out what was going wrong. And I truly then believed that I was at the end of my life, and decided that if I was going to spend a lot of money I was going to spend it traveling and be with my grown son. He was horrified. I was terrified, and also wanting to put on the brave face and accept the fact that it was my time to go. I didn't necessarily fear death. I was more frustrated and angry that no one could figure out what was going wrong, and that I was spending a lot of money and not getting any answers. When I began receiving acupuncture simply to help me sleep, help me while I was grieving, and better manage stress, that was when things began to shift. And I became a very proactive patient. And as I felt the time was slipping by, the clock was ticking, that's when I found answers, and I began to recover in an unexpected way. Now, that was when I was 45. I'm nearly 61 years old right now. And that season of my life was one of the most difficult ones that I've ever faced. I lost a lot. I lost a good quality of my health, my sense of stability, and parts of my life that I had known that were gone. But I also gained something I didn't have before. I learned how to better listen to my body, and I learned how to advocate for myself, because I decided to choose providers who partnered with me. I had a great doctor who was on my side. And as I was bouncing around from clinic to specialist to hospital to lab, I was getting shuffled around as if I was just a lab rat. And not to bash or shame any of the healthcare providers, they were doing their best with an unknown condition. I also decided that I was going to step up to the plate, and as I searched for answers, even if it was just the answers to help me ease into the end of my life, that I wanted to have that teamwork approach, somewhat of a medical home where I'm the most important person on the team as the patient. And if you are a patient, if you're managing chronic conditions, you are the most important person on your team. That's what I wanted, and that's what I found, is a team of healthcare providers who partnered with me. And as I learned that healing isn't just about what happens in the doctor's office, it's what we do for ourselves every single day. That experience changed the way I approached my health, and it's the reason I'm here today. In this series, I'm going to share the simple framework that helped me rebuild step by step, so you don't have to figure this out alone. If this resonated with you, you can subscribe and follow along with the series. Thank you for being here.